Hello, fellow self-improvers. Just a quick reminder that if you fancy a bit more from the Self-Improvement Project, you can subscribe on Spotify for 99p a month, and you get an extra episode a week and an in-depth workshop episode every month. Enjoy the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Self-Improvement Project. I hope you're all well, and a question for you for this week to ponder is, what is keeping you engaged? Time management, productivity is such a big thing, such a big part of day-to-day life now, and it all comes back to engagement. There'll be times where you're on, there'll be times where you're off, but when you are engaged, it is tough to replicate that. So it's about thinking where, when, even who is involved when it comes to us being engaged, and trying to optimize for that, trying to include that more in our life when we perhaps feel like we don't have it enough. On to today's episode, which is called Self-Worth Comes from Doing Hard Things. I've done previous episodes on making difficult decisions or making difficult choices, and I just want to go over this in a slightly different context today, and from a slightly different perspective as well. So, looking at self-worth, this whole concept and idea for this episode came from looking at balance in our life. As you've perhaps picked up on recently, a lot of the content in the last few months has been around lifestyle, and this is no different. One of the most underrated things we can do in our lives and for our lifestyle is to find balance between living and doing things that are good for you. Living is the easy thing, the pleasurable thing, the thing that gives us enjoyment. The things that are good for us are usually hard. They're usually tough, and this is where that resistance kicks in that I've chatted about recently as well. Inclusive in this idea around balance between living and doing things that are right for us comes our personality. And a beautiful thing is that over time and through experience, you start to define your own unique personality. It's not something that you can magically conjure up through a disciplined month of habits. It's something that you work on and you evolve over time. It's personally one of my favorite parts of becoming older, and the reason for that is that I'm much more accepting of myself. I'm much more comfortable within my own personality, and not just within myself, but when I'm in situations where I can be completely at peace with myself, maybe in situations with others. There will be times where, as you start to accept yourself and your personality, you start to disagree more with others, their choices, their decisions, their behaviors. But when we override that, there's that peace that exists within yourself, that you are simply comfortable in your own skin. It's tough to teach this. It's tough to advise how to get this, but it's something that is very enjoyable once you achieve certain elements of it. Now, the reason for this sets the scene around this balance. As you grow and accept yourself, a fun or interesting part of living is finding the balance between this enjoyment and discipline side of things. Let's look at discipline, and people who are completely limited with their choices and are overly disciplined are essentially boring. But on the flip side, those that aren't disciplined enough are usually never that satisfied. There's this shift that's needed in regards to gain the pleasure that we want from self-discipline when we aren't doing enough disciplined things. If we live our life all the time doing all the things that we want, then these levels of pleasure are too high to maintain. And when we have this depressive state because we can't maintain it. And this state of perhaps not feeling like we're achieving anything because we're just choosing what we want to do all the time develops into that lack of self-worth. And that's where we come to today. Self-worth comes from doing hard things, difficult conversations, challenging exercise, choosing the task that we don't want to do first, writing something good from a blank piece of paper. And this is where the opposite is true as well. The easy things, spending money, watching TV, chatting with friends. These are the easy things. And if we do either of them too much, then we might find a source of unhappiness. The likely situation is that 70 to 80% of us are choosing the easy things way too much. And it's not that we need to remove them, we just need to align and balance it a little bit more. And essentially, this is why those things that I said were easy are so enjoyable once we've earned them. TV is amazing after a long day of tough work. Seeing friends at the weekend is great after slogging it out for 5 days. An indulgent meal is amazing after going for a long run. Start thinking about your balance rather than your extremes. This is all about your life and lifestyle as it currently is. There'll be some things that you are doing that are amazing, self-discipline wise, and there will also be some amazing things that you do day in, day out that bring you joy. A lot of the time, extremes come from a place of starvation and limitation. Balance comes from a place of reward, hard work, and essentially love. It's important to acknowledge as well that extremes are always impressive, but you do lose all the other joys that you have in life. Find that contrast and lavish in the reward. If we're spending too much time doing one or the other, whether that's we're living too much and doing too many enjoyable things that's leading to that lack of self-worth, or whether we're being too disciplined and missing out on those things that actually bring us joy in life. Look for the balance now, because we don't want to be living with a bit of regret in the future. And that's us today. I hope you enjoyed that. I would love to challenge you as to where can you find balance with life a little bit more? And respond to me in the questions. I always like hearing people's opinions, and I think it's important to share that with others as well. What you might be going through is something that other people might be going through as well. So thanks as always for listening, and I will see you all next time. Cheers. Hey guys, me again. I hope you enjoyed that episode, and if you're not ready for the Becoming Unstuck in 30 Days self-led course quite yet, why don't you try my free ebook I created? 5 simple steps to improve yourself and your life. I made this during the very first lockdown of the pandemic in the early days of the Self-Improvement Project. It's a quick go-to when you're feeling unsure what to work on when improving yourself or your lifestyle. And the great starting point if you're trying to figure out how to live a more fulfilling and simple life. The link for this will be in the show notes for you. Have a good one.